Joining me now, Congressman Trey Gowdy of South Carolina. He's a member of the House Oversight Committee that held a hearing on the Benghazi attacks just last month. Congressman, good to have you with us. This is a remarkable period in American history. We are now hearing from the Senate committee members, not the House committees, but we assume we will at some point, perhaps as early as this evening, at least their reaction to what they heard today. But does it trouble you that neither Morrell nor Clapper could identify the person responsible for the false statements made by UN Ambassador Susan Rice, the president himself, and his administration for a period of 2 weeks?
Well, my recommendation to them is if they can't identify that person, they need to familiarize themselves with the name before they come before oversight or a House committee. And if they think they're going to make it through this investigation without disclosing that name, they are sorely mistaken.
The idea that these gentlemen sitting there as the leaders of our intelligence community would not be willing to put forward a transparent, direct, and candid statement to those committees, that's deeply troubling, isn't it?
It is when you live in an open, free society and an administration that claims to be the most transparent since the earth cooled. We're going to find out, Lou, what happened in Benghazi, with or without the voluntary help of the people who have knowledge. We're going to find out, and we'll have committee hearings until the Lord comes back, if that's what it takes. We have 4 murdered Americans, and I owe it to them to find out how this happened.
Senator McCain, Senator Graham, Senator Ayo, calling for a select committee to go after what happened there. Your reaction to that?
Well, I agree with all 3 senators. I would like there to be one central committee in both the Senate and the House so this doesn't get fragmented and stovepiped. I also found the president's reaction to what the 3 senators said to be disappointing. He does get defensive when he is questioned. But the reality, Lou, is he's the one that picked Susan Rice. We didn't send her on television talk shows. We didn't tell her to blame a video. We didn't tell her to claim it was a spontaneous reaction. So if he's disappointed in the treatment that she's receiving, he has no one to blame but himself.
By the way, I should point out, too, it was interesting that the White House and various other Democratic spokesmen, and as well as legislators, keep forgetting to put forward the fact that there were 3 senators calling for this this committee, not just the 2 men. A number of women have stepped forward today to say this is bad treatment, rough treatment, if you will, of a woman, that is, namely Ambassador Rice, forgetting that Senator Ayotte is also amongst those calling for it.
But how paternalistic is that, Lou? I mean, how paternalistic is it? Susan Rice can fend for herself. She has a distinguished career as a diplomat. She should have asked the intelligence officials, what information are you sending me out to parrot? I mean, she has a responsibility there as well. And yes, Kelly Ayotte is a former prosecutor and probably the toughest of the 3 between McCain, Graham, and Ayotte. But that fact is conveniently left out. But Susan Rice has been in government for a long time. If she thinks she can go out and parrot administration talking points and not be called on it, then she's going to be surprised.
Are you hopeful about David Petraeus appearing before the intelligence committees of both the Senate and the House tomorrow? That is, hopeful that he will be straightforward and truthful?
I think he will be, and I'm cautiously optimistic that it's going to add to our body of knowledge. But the reality is there are multiple witnesses with indispensable knowledge. He's one of them. Susan Rice is another one. Hillary Clinton is another. And we would not be doing our due diligence as investigators if we didn't question all of them. And if the president thinks we're being unfair to Susan Rice, then he can come answer the questions. That's always an option, too. If he wants to be sanctimonious and paternalistic towards her, he can come to Congress and answer the questions.
Well, Congressman Gowdy, I've got to ask you this question. I'm going to be asking a number of people throughout this broadcast this question, but I was struck by the fact that Senator Feinstein and her committee did not want to comment. And so on a number of things, I want to just ask you very quickly as we wrap up here, for your view as to whether or not this is if you can think of any grounds for not commenting on what seemed to me to be matter-of-fact issues. She was asked whether the CIA operatives who were ultimately killed in Benghazi had called for help. She declined to respond. Can you think of any reason why that would not be a matter that could be shared with the American public?
No, sir, I cannot.
No comment on whether the hearing supported the administration's original version of events. Again, it's your reaction.
There's a difference between not wanting to comment on something and not being able to. I understand it's uncomfortable for anyone on that side of the aisle. This was a fiasco. But there's a difference between not being able to shed light on something and choosing not to do it. I can think of no reason, there's no legal bar to them providing these answers.
And Congressman, finally, I just would say that at the rate that the administration is going, in which it is turning one thing over after another to various agencies and departments for further investigation, it's going to be, it could well become a situation where this administration will not be able to talk about much in foreign policy whatsoever. Congressman, you get the last word on this. Your thoughts?
Well, I give President Obama credit for being able to do one thing I have not seen in the time that I've known him, which is get Senator Graham as upset as I have ever seen him about anything. And he punches above his weight class. So he's engaged on Benghazi, Kelly Ayotte, Jason Chaffetz, John McCain. Some of us are young enough that we're going to be around no matter how much they want to obfuscate and stonewall. We'll be around to get the answers, especially for the families of those 4 murdered Americans.
Congressman, we appreciate it, as always, you being here and your efforts. Congressman Trey Gowdy.
Thank you, Lou.